ancient alien evidence, 3 findings of ancient Egypt that are out of this world. Why is it that we have absolutely no idea why ancient Egyptians built pyramids, and how come mainstream researchers can't explain the methods used by ancient Egyptians to build these pyramids? And why is it that we still don't know the exact purpose nor age of these mysterious and enigmatic monuments? What were the Baghdad batteries? And why is there an ancient list that proves otherworldly rulers reigned over Egypt for hundreds of years? And I guess this is the point where we have to refer to Thoth, the Atlantean, or Hermes Trismegistus, who was supposedly one of the first deities of ancient Egypt. And you'll find that he wrote the Emerald Tablets. I have a playlist of those videos if you'd like to refer to them. He has a lot of information about what the Atlanteans were doing. They were giants. They had advanced technology. They had air flight. They had space travel. And they even had interdimensional travel. That's what they got into real trouble for. They were dwelling with magic, and they were also misusing their interdimensional knowledge because they were bringing in entities that were really harmful to humanity and the world in general. Now, he was supposedly credited with building the pyramids of Giza, and he states in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth that is, that he has buried his spaceship under a sphinx in a plateau of pyramids in Egypt. Now, Giza is not the only plateau of pyramids. We also have Saqqara. We don't know where his spaceship could be, but it's under a sphinx. Now, it's possible, it says here, that the pyramids had a far greater purpose in the distant past. Is it possible that pyramids were not used as tombs? After all, they didn't find any mummies or skeletons in these Giza pyramids. The mummies were found in the necropolis of Egypt. Now, the mainstream scholars have got it all wrong when it comes to these enigmatic structures. These are just some of the many questions that have not been answered yet, and they're crucial for the understanding of these mysterious monuments. But the pyramids of Giza are just one of many things that have researchers and archaeologists scratching their heads. There's plenty more that is literally out of this world. And we have to admit the ancient astronaut theory has been bombarded by skeptics and mainstream researchers who firmly oppose the open-minded theories proposed in the last couple of decades. Perhaps the opposing fraction has never given the ancient astronaut theory much thought. After all, anything is possible, and the ancient astronauts, they could refer to, they offer answers to many enigmas, and that mainstream scholars have not been able to answer. And let's look at the things neutrally. The Great Pyramid of Giza, it's not a tomb. If the Great Pyramid of Giza was not a tomb, as many scholars suggest, is there any possibility that this incredible ancient monument was not a monument or a tomb at all? What if the Great Pyramid of Giza acted as a giant energy machine in the distant past? The Great Pyramid of Giza is by far the most enigmatic structure on the surface of the planet, and the fact that the Great Pyramid is the only pyramid in Egypt with both descending and ascending inner passages is something that has created great confusion among researchers. But not only that, the Great Pyramid of Giza also happens to be the most accurately aligned structure in existence and faces true north with only a 3/60th of a degree of error. Furthermore, the Great Pyramid is located at the center of the landmass of our Earth. The east-west parallel that crosses the most land and the north-south meridian that crosses the most land intersect in 2 places on Earth, one in the ocean and the other at the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Great Pyramid of Giza also happens to be the only pyramid in Egypt that has 8 sides. This is a fact unknown to many people. The centers of the 4 sides are indented with an extraordinary degree of precision forming the only eight-sided pyramid. This effect is not visible from the ground or from a distance, but only from the air, and then only under proper lighting conditions. This phenomenon is only detectable from the air at dawn and sunset on the spring and autumn equinoxes, when the sun casts shadows on the pyramid. An even greater enigma is the fact that the value of pi appears to be represented and embedded direct into the building of the pyramid. The relationship between pi and phi is expressed in the fundamental proportions of the Great Pyramid. Even though textbooks and mainstream scholars suggest that the ancient Greeks were those who discovered the relationship of pi, it seems that the builder of the Great Pyramid predated the ancient Greeks by quite some time. The Baghdad Battery. Power to the ancients? Dr. Paul Craddock says they are a one-off. As far as we know, nobody else has found anything like this. They are odd things. They are one of life's enigmas. The artifacts consist of terracotta jars approximately 5 inches tall with a 1.5-inch mouth, containing a copper cylinder made of a rolled up copper sheet, which houses a single iron rod. At the top, the iron rod is isolated from the copper by bitumen plugs or stoppers, and both rod and cylinder fit snugly inside the opening of the jar, which bulges outward towards the middle. Now, if these artifacts are real batteries, we would predate Alessandro Volta's 1800 invention of the electrochemical cell by more than 1,000 years. The Baghdad Battery belongs to a number of ancient artifacts that have caused much debate in the field of archaeology. And while the feelings are mixed among scholars, there are several theories backed up by different individuals ranging in beliefs. Ancient astronauts theorists suggest that ancient Egyptians were very familiar with the Baghdad batteries. They might have been used to provide light in the chambers of the pyramids and other places according to their theories. However, skeptics don't agree at all, and suggest that this is yet another theory that has no evidence backing it up, pointing towards the fact that there are no written texts found anywhere that would suggest the use of electricity in ancient times, at least not with the Baghdad batteries. But what if this is another part where skeptics are wrong? What if the ancients had a way to harness electricity? Is it possible that they could have created devices like the Baghdad batteries which were able to produce electricity? It's possible that ancient mankind used these batteries to power devices, and it's also possible that they figured out a way to connect them and generate more power to feed several devices that could have been used in construction and transportation. This would help explain a small percentage of achievements by ancient mankind. It just sounds more logic when you think of it. Now, curiosity and surprise have been present when trying to figure out how did the ancients in Egypt achieve their artistic and technical perfection in total darkness in the immense underground corridors that are found in countless monuments in different necropolises through Egypt. Just how did they manage these incredible feats without a constant light source? That is a question that has been partially answered by archaeologists and historians, but these theories have not been accepted by everyone. An impressive hypothesis has been present when it comes to ancient Egypt, as a growing number of researchers argue that we should no longer accept the popular version of who actually invented electricity. They argue that electricity was originally discovered in the ancient world, and the Egyptian priesthood was the first to harness the power to illuminate their underground tombs and monuments. Alternative theories point towards a series of reliefs covering the walls in a dark corner of a crypt in the temple of Hathor at Dendera. Papyrus of Turin and the Palermo stele, alien visitations documented thousands of years ago. One of the most popular ancient texts that can tell us more about this time in history is the Papyrus of Turin, which lists all the pharaohs who ruled over ancient Egypt. Interestingly, mainstream scholars have only partially accepted these ancient documents suggesting that half of it can be considered as a myth since they are unable to fully understand it. And here's why. Not only does this include all of the official historic pharaohs of ancient Egypt, it also includes the deities or gods, quote unquote, who came from above and reigned over the lands of Egypt before the first mortal pharaoh of Egypt, with a lineage that spreads over 13,000 years. It's as great an enigma why mainstream scholars consider this ancient text as pure myth, and why most details of the ancient text have been overlooked and omitted from the history books. This reminds us of the Sumerian tablets telling us of the longevity of the Sumerian king lists. The Sumerian king lists, they lived for tens of thousands of years. And also the fact that the Tully Papyrus tells us of the pharaoh witnessing the overlords of Egypt landing over the Giza pyramids. He was in awe. He was frightened stiff from I have to make another video on that. That's amazing what he wrote, what he had described right for us. The Tully Papyrus found about 1900s and 1930, I think, and he witnesses the overlords of Egypt landing over the Giza pyramids. This reminds us of the Abydos Stati temple in Egypt with the hieroglyphs of the helicopters and the spaceships and tanks and even submarines. So obviously these were things that they had thousands of years ago. Now, interestingly, the Egyptian high priest Manetho, who had access to unlimited ancient texts from the ancient library of Alexandria, which was burned down. Alexandria was a city that Alexander the Great established, and with a huge library there. Now, the ancient library there had unlimited ancient texts, and he wrote for the pharaoh the history of ancient Egypt in 30 volumes, making reference to the divine beings that ruled during pre-pharaonic Egypt, which is, of course, the time of Thoth the Atlantean. After Atlantis sunk, Atlanteans went to various parts of the world and reestablished cities and taught people there high technology. The first thing they did was build pyramids for some reason. Thoth was the one who built the Giza pyramids. He later went to the Americas and built pyramids there, establishing new cities and giving technology to the people there. So English Egyptologist Toby Wilkinson said, "They seem to have no ancestors or periods of development. They seem to have appeared overnight." Well, this could be what is explained very, very clearly by Thoth Hermistus in the Emerald Tablets, how they were the first deities of Egypt, and they had, of course, space flight, air travel. Now, this indicates that there were gods, quote unquote, who reigned on earth in ancient Egypt for a total of 36,600 years. After this period of rule come the mortal pharaohs of ancient Egypt. And also China. The Chinese legends tell us that the Chinese pyramids were not built by the Chinese emperors. They were built by entities that came down with spaceships, and that the first emperors of China were actually the offspring of these, the descendants of these people that had space flight. So that what took place in China, again, took place in Egypt. And what took place in Egypt and China also took place in North America, because we have the Native American Indians with their legends and their beliefs of the star people, the sky gods, the star gods. And they came down and gave them their ethics, their code of ethics, their technology, and various aspects of knowledge that they have. They also had beards, whereas we know that the Native Americans are not capable of growing beards. So this is on from Bended Reality, and I hope you liked it. I thought it was very interesting. Obviously, they had advanced technology of what we don't even have a lot of this technology today. And tell me what you think. Thank you very much for your support. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.